World War II, a conflict that reshaped the world and left an indelible mark on history. Germany, a resurgent power under Adolf Hitler, unleashes its Blitzkrieg upon Europe. This lightning war, characterized by rapid and overwhelming force, catches many nations off guard. France, once a symbol of might and resilience, crumbles under the relentless onslaught. The French military, despite its storied history, is unable to withstand the ferocity of the German advance. The unthinkable happens. France falls. Paris, the city of light, is occupied. The French people are left in shock and despair as their nation is overrun. In the wake of this defeat, a new government emerges in the unoccupied zone, headquartered in the spa town of Vichy. This government, known as Vichy France, seeks to navigate the treacherous waters of occupation. This is not the France of defiance, but a France of accommodation, led by the aging hero of World War I, Marshal Philippe Pétain. Pétain, once celebrated for his leadership, now faces the daunting task of leading a defeated nation. The world watches in disbelief as France, a beacon of liberty, enters into a pact with Nazi Germany. How could this happen? How could a nation known for its revolutionary spirit and commitment to freedom align itself with such tyranny? What drove France, a nation with a proud history of resistance, to collaborate with the very force that had brought it to its knees? The answers lie in a complex web of fear, pragmatism, and the hope of preserving some semblance of sovereignty. This is the story of Vichy France, a regime forever marked by its collaboration with Nazi Germany. It is a period of deep moral compromise and national shame, where the lines between survival and betrayal blur. It is a story of complex choices made under extraordinary pressure, a story that continues to haunt France to this day. The decisions made by the Vichy government would have lasting repercussions, both for those who lived through it and for future generations. This is a story we need to understand, not just as a historical event, but as a cautionary tale about the fragility of democracy and the seductive power of fear and expediency. It reminds us that in times of crisis, the values we hold dear can be tested in ways we never imagined. The legacy of Vichy France serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of vigilance, courage, and the unwavering commitment to justice and human dignity. As we reflect on this dark chapter, we must strive to learn from it and ensure that such a tragedy never happens again. June 22, 1940, a date that would forever alter the course of French history. In the Compiègne forest, the same spot where Germany had surrendered in 1918, a new chapter of humiliation was written. France signs an armistice with the Third Reich. The terms are harsh, stripping France of its dignity and sovereignty. Germany occupies northern and western France, including Paris, the heart of the nation. The City of Light falls under a dark shadow. The remainder, along with French colonies, falls under the control of the newly established French state, with Pétain at its helm. This new regime, known as Vichy France, is a puppet state. The French people are stunned. Their world has been turned upside down in a matter of days. Their nation, undefeated in living memory, is sliced in two. The psychological impact is profound. The North, under the heel of the occupier, experiences the harsh realities of German rule. Curfews, censorship, and constant surveillance become the new norm. The South, seemingly free, but under the thumb of a government that has chosen collaboration over resistance. Vichy officials work closely with their German counterparts, hoping to maintain some semblance of control. Pétain, a national icon, argues this is the only way to save France. He speaks to the nation, urging them to accept the new reality for the sake of survival. He promises to shield the unoccupied zone from German occupation and maintain a semblance of French sovereignty. His words offer a glimmer of hope to a desperate population. Many French citizens, disillusioned and defeated, accept this argument. They cling to the hope that collaboration will bring stability and prevent further bloodshed. They see collaboration as a bitter pill to swallow, but necessary to avoid further suffering. Others, however, are appalled. They view it as a betrayal of everything France stands for. They refuse to accept defeat, let alone collaboration with the enemy. Acts of defiance, though small, begin to emerge. They will form the seeds of the French resistance, choosing defiance over accommodation even if it means fighting a seemingly invincible foe. These brave souls risk everything for the hope of a free France. France is now a nation divided, geographically, politically, and morally. The scars of this division will linger long after the war ends, shaping the future of the nation for generations to come. To understand Vichy's collaboration, we must grasp the context. The world was engulfed in the flames of World War II, and Europe was a battleground of ideologies and armies. The fall of France in 1940 was a seismic event that reshaped the continent's political landscape. France was reeling from a humiliating defeat. The once proud nation, with its rich history and cultural heritage, found itself on its knees, its military might shattered, and its people demoralized. The swift and brutal German invasion left the country in ruins, both physically and psychologically. The specter of total German occupation loomed large. The streets of French cities echoed with the heavy boots of Nazi soldiers, and the swastika flew over government buildings. The French people faced an uncertain future under the iron fist of the Third Reich. Pétain, and many with him, believed collaboration was the only way to mitigate the worst excesses of Nazi rule, to preserve some semblance of French sovereignty, and to buy time. They hoped that by cooperating with the occupiers, they could shield the nation from the full brunt of German brutality and maintain a degree of autonomy. Vichy's collaboration took many forms, from economic cooperation to the deportation of Jews. The regime engaged in trade and industrial agreements with Germany, supplying resources and labor to the Nazi war machine. This economic entanglement was seen as a necessary evil by some, a way to keep the French economy afloat in dire times. It was a collaboration born of fear, pragmatism, and a belief that France could survive by playing a weak hand as best it could. The Vichy government made difficult and often morally questionable decisions, balancing the immediate needs of the population with the demands of their German overlords. Some within the Vichy regime genuinely believed they were acting in France's best interests, trying to soften the blow of defeat. They saw themselves as patriots, navigating a treacherous path to safeguard the nation's future, even if it meant making painful compromises. Others were driven by opportunism, anti-Semitism, or a desire to maintain their own power and privilege. For these individuals, collaboration was a means to an end, a way to secure their positions and further their own agendas, often at the expense of their fellow citizens. However, the line between collaboration and complicity is thin. The actions of the Vichy regime often crossed into active participation in Nazi atrocities, blurring the moral boundaries and raising profound ethical questions about the nature of their cooperation. Vichy's actions went far beyond passive acceptance of German demands. The regime implemented policies that aligned with Nazi objectives, including the enforcement of anti-Semitic laws and the suppression of resistance movements. This active participation in the Nazi agenda marked a dark chapter in French history. The regime actively participated in the Nazi war effort, contributing to the persecution of Jews and the deportation of French citizens to labor camps. Thousands of innocent lives were torn apart, families separated, and communities decimated as a result of Vichy's collaboration with the occupiers. Even if motivated by a desire to protect France, Vichy's actions had devastating consequences, staining the nation's conscience and leaving a legacy of shame. The moral and ethical ramifications of their choices continue to be a subject of reflection and debate, reminding us of the complexities and tragedies of wartime collaboration. Section 4. Economic exploitation, fueling the Nazi war machine. Collaboration had a tangible impact on the lives of everyday French citizens. The German war machine was insatiable, and occupied France became a source of raw materials, industrial goods, and manpower. French factories churned out products for the Wehrmacht. French farmers were forced to meet quotas to feed the German army. This economic exploitation led to widespread shortages and hardship for the French. Food rationing became a fact of life. Basic necessities were scarce. The black market flourished as people struggled to survive. The economic burden of occupation fell heavily on the shoulders of ordinary French citizens, fueling resentment and resistance against both the Germans and the Vichy regime that enabled them. This enforced economic collaboration also had a profound impact on the German war effort. French resources helped sustain the Nazi war machine, prolonging the conflict and contributing to the suffering of millions. Vichy's collaboration, even if presented as a means of survival, had become a form of complicity in Nazi aggression. Section 5. The shadow of collaboration, the Milice and French complicity. While some in Vichy might have clung to the belief they were playing a strategic game, others embraced a darker vision of collaboration. The Milice, Vichy's paramilitary police force, actively hunted down resistance fighters and Jews, often with a brutality that shocked even the Germans. The Milice was a chilling example of French citizens turning on their own countrymen, driven by anti-Semitism, opportunism, or a misguided belief in Vichy's ideology of national revolution. Their actions demonstrated the slippery slope of collaboration, where accommodation could easily descend into active participation in Nazi crimes. The existence of the Milice, and the willingness of some French citizens to collaborate in the roundup and deportation of Jews, remains a deeply troubling chapter in French history. It shattered the myth of a unified France resisting Nazi tyranny, and exposed the dark undercurrents of anti-Semitism and xenophobia that lurked beneath the surface of French society.